Got Your Eers On is brought to you by Tactical Legion 9.
All right, everybody, hello and welcome to this week's episode of Got Your Eers On. Guido here along with Scoot.
Hair growing.
And Johnson.
Axe throwing son of a gun.
Oh my gosh, it's good to be back, boys. We've got a lot to talk about.
So ridiculous. Why would we say those things? Well, I'll tell you why we would say those things. Because our friend Guido here is doing just that.
Yeah, in the
growing his
Throwing
hair
out the hair.
and
during
throwing
the break.
axes.
Yeah, during the
Yeah.
break. That's the We're just saying the activities he's been doing during the break. That's all.
Well, you know, like, you remember, I mean, you know, over whenever you took a long break, you stop shaving, you stop grooming, you let the hair grow out. Maybe that's what it is. We haven't been doing the podcast as much. We're taking these 2-week breaks. I'll let the hair grow a little bit. We'll see what happens.
Get a little loose, Scoot.
Fast and loose with the hair.
Fast and loose with their hair. Well, WVU was a little fast and loose with the football at the WVU Spring Game, Johnson, that happened 2 weeks ago. And did we learn anything? We saw a lot of quarterbacks play. I'm not sure any of those quarterbacks are going to be the ones that we see in the fall, but I think the overall kind of thought behind everything is that Goose actually looked pretty good.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, isn't it, about the quarterback situation? Do you think any of these guys are the ones you'll see in the fall? I think the prevailing opinion coming out of the spring game, Guido, was people thought Goose looked really good. People thought overwhelmingly, though, and I say people thought, Mountaineer Twitter felt like they thought Nico should be the backup for JT Daniels, who, you know, didn't really give anything for the eyeballs at the spring game, but Goose played really well. Now, I don't think anyone played bad. I think people just walked away thinking, hey, Goose looked really good. He was mobile, slung the ball around. And Scoot, I think people probably are hoping, you know, to me, there's like a lot of hope. Like spring games are, I don't know how much real football you see, like these guys can't get touched. So if there's any time they're going to look good, like if there's any time they're going to look good, it's probably going to be here, right? Because you know they can't get touched. They're kind of free flowing, doing what they want. So, but even though that being said, it looked like Goose performed really well.
Yeah, it's a weird setup. Sometimes there's coaches on the field. Some of those guys were wearing those marshmallows on top of their helmets,
right?
It's just it's an unusual thing. You do get to see glimpses of what could be pretty sweet, but at the same time, no one wants to get hurt, right? Because then you're looking at like, oh man, I just got hurt before I actually
and that
did
always
anything.
Feels the worst, doesn't it? Like we've had that bad luck, actually, you know, not only spring game, but preseason injuries. So you definitely don't want to do those things. That's why they're wearing marshmallows on their head, Scoot. I mean, come on, you take all precautions.
I think the one thing that came out of it that was kind of interesting, though, and sort of the play or the thing that everybody talked about was Goose throwing a 50-yard bomb to Preston Fox. And we learned who Preston Fox is.
I was going to say that too. Scoot, did you know who Preston Fox was before this game? Because I admit that I did not.
I mean, I've seen photos of him. I haven't really seen him play because I don't know that any of us have really seen him play all that much. I know he was a Morgantown guy, or I think he went to university, actually, I think is where he went to school. But he's from Morgantown. But outside of that, I don't know much about him.
Well, it's a really cool story, Guido. I mean, that's one of those things that I think people love, you know, like local guy, he's performing really well and he's rewarded for it. That's pretty cool. You Guido, I don't know if you know, like I've known you to maybe get excited about some local guys lately. We haven't really had anything to talk about lately about a local guy, but maybe later we will. But this was a cool story about a local guy.
Well, and it was really cool because Preston does this and then, you know, it gets put on scholarship immediately in the locker room. And so it's like one of those like feel good, like, you know, football stories. And it's hard. And like you guys said, it's hard. You watch this game and it's not a game. It's just like a skills competition show off thing. I mean, I think everybody's running at half or 3/4 speed. Other interesting things, though, that I think came out of it, on top of Preston Fox and Goose playing really well, is Sam James apparently is prepping himself for some NFL touchdown celebrations, Johnson.
Yeah, he did the old Ole Miss I think that was in an Egg Bowl a couple seasons ago where someone decided to drop down on all fours and act like a dog peeing on the football. Scoot. He pulled one of those quick ones and got.
I don't know.
I didn't know. Let me say this. I didn't know that you could get an unsportsmanlike in a spring game. I mean, I guess I should. I guess I should have known you could, but he proved me wrong that he in fact did that, and you can get one of those in a spring game.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess. Maybe if you had some animosity toward the other team or something, that might be not appropriate, but maybe slightly understandable. Like they were running their mouths at you the whole time and you're ticked at them. So you're going to take a figurative leak on their logo or something.
Well, the one good thing that came out of it, if nothing else, the one good thing that came out of it is someone has already taken it and put the pit logo where the football was, and I thought so. That's like, if anything, that's positive, right? I mean, we can now use that. That's good.
I think for me though, Johnson, going back to it, I think the unsportsmanlike conduct is like the funniest part of the whole thing.
Because it honestly made me laugh. Yeah,
it's like the officials, which are I think are actual Big 12 officials that come in and they bring in for this to like warm up for the season or whatever. Like all of a sudden he does that, and all of a sudden flags are being thrown, and this is a big deal.
And can you imagine? Funny. They're probably looking at each other at other like sides of the field. They're probably looking at each other like, "Is he? What we need to do something
that maybe,
about that." Right?
Gene Sarator up in the booth
gave some analysis.
He went to Sam James and said, "Listen, I want to test these guys. We got some young bucks here in the stripes tonight. I want you to go over." Score a touchdown, take a leak on the logo. Let's see what happens.
Give it the old fire hydrant treatment.
Let's see if they do their job.
Yeah, see if they do their job. Well, Guido, how about and I'm taking this as official, by the way, because John Antonick tweeted it. And anytime he tweets something, I'm like, well, that must be true.
Yeah, it's got to be true.
He said that he was told the attendance for the game was 12,678. And I thought that was good. Yeah. Don't you? I mean, come on. Spring game. It's like a scrimmage. It's like a drill scrimmage thing. Come on.
It's like, I mean, how often do you go watch practices? Yeah. That's all it is.
I mean,
you're watching
a
practice.
I know, like, and look, I get it. Scoot's giving me the like, I get like Alabama has like 90,000 people show up for us. Like, I get it. But I mean, for us, Morgantown's probably other stuff going on, like I think that's pretty 13,000. That's not bad.
That's weak.
No, not at all. You don't think it's good at all?
No, it's weak. There should be at least 20,000 people there. At least 20. A third of the stadium. Give me a third.
A third of the stadium. Okay. All right.
You turn on ESPNU and you see those SEC spring games, Alabama, Auburn. You see those, like, they're packed. The stadiums are packed.
They are.
But
I think I could identify individuals from different counties. I'm like, I think that's John Smith.
That's the
from
Upshur
Roane
County section right there.
Yeah, I think that's
hey, look,
over there.
It's Steve from Upshur County sitting there.
Right, yeah.
Hey, Curtis, how you doing?
I shouldn't be able to do that.
No, you shouldn't be able to do that. It's true. It is true. Well, I mean, all in all, guys, I think it was, I don't think we learned a lot. It was really exciting, though. We want to say friend of the show,
yes,
Marquand Rucker,
yes,
Scooty, did a good job. He actually gained second most yards of any other rushing back. Marquand Rucker did.
What if I don't know the actual records here, but I don't think anyone, or maybe they did, but he's the only running back that's scored in the last two spring games back to back. Because I think he also scored last year.
That's a good Bluff the Fluffs. That's a good question.
There you go.
Yeah, he scored twice. He looked good on the one touchdown run that I saw repeated over and over again in highlights. He looked really good there.
I saw that.
I think Coach Scott is seeing some growth in him. Problem for Mark is can we get him on the field? Is he too far on down the depth chart? Yeah, special teams, I think yes. In the backfield though, it's probably going to take several situations to happen for him to line up back there.
Well, I mean, I think it kind of came out afterwards in some news article. I mean, he's floating around that 3-4 spot in the running back position. I mean, you've got, Lynn J. Dixon and Tony Mathis are definitely the 1 and 2, and that'll be,
right.
But it's one of those. That's a position where you see a lot of injuries, and so some of those other guys that ran, Jalen Anderson, Marquand Rucker, like some of those other players, they might see some time.
Justin Johnson, isn't there a Justin Johnson?
Yeah, Justin Johnson Jr. Yeah. He was in there too.
It's a lot of J's.
Just there's a lot of J's. I think, it's hard because you see, Lynn J. Dixon's going to be the number one running back in the season, most likely. Only saw 2 touches the whole time, So it's so hard to look at the spring game and get anything out of it. I mean, Coach Brown came out of it in the post-game press conference and said that he was pleased to see clean football. I mean, I'm not sure what that means. He thought the offense looked clean. He thought the defense looked clean. He
Sam James was cleaning off the football.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, right.
That's why he was pleased to see the clean football.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not sure what else we could have learned from the spring game, but it was good to see some things. It was good to see some football, back in Morgantown.
Good to see some spring football. Now we wait, right? Now we take that morsel and we try to make it last until
and now
fall.
we throw in JT Daniels and everything you saw means nothing.
Right. And I think that's the thing. I think I think the line is, Johnson, now we wait for JT Daniels to arrive on campus. I think
accurate.
That's where
I agree.
Everything is with it. With that said, some other football things we should talk about. A lot of guys that left West Virginia have found landing places. Johnson, Akeem Messidor goes to Miami.
Yeah, shocker there, right? I mean, no one saw that coming. Daryl Porter Jr. on Twitter, celebrating, feels yucky, but hey, whatever. We're not sour. Mm-hmm. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Josh Chandler Semedo Scoot goes to Colorado, noted powerhouse Colorado.
The Buffs.
I will say that, I mean, I love Boulder. I went there in 2009. WVU played out there. Super fun. But I just weighing the two things, I'm not really sure why you do that decision.
Well,
it smells like a plan got put in motion and then maybe it didn't go completely as planned. And
that's what I texted you. I think he thinks, hey, let's go transfer portal. Let's see what's out there. And then there was Colorado was out there and maybe not anything else that was appealing to him.
That stinks because I already missed those two guys, Guido. And then even though, over the weekend here, we've had the NFL draft, even though really a couple teams from the Big 12 didn't see anyone drafted, of which WVU was one. Since then, since the end of these late rounds, we've actually had a few guys signed to undrafted free agents.
Yeah, I like how there was a couple of comments on Twitter about, well, why wasn't, in the first and second round, why wasn't Letty Brown drafted? Isn't Letty Brown going to get drafted? Unfortunately, no WVU player gets drafted. Letty Brown signs after the draft with the Chargers. Sean Mahone, congratulations to him. Well-deserved. Sean Mahone signs with the Jaguars. Alonzo Adai signs with the Cardinals. It's interesting, though, that of those three guys, I think Letty Brown he was the only one of those three that went to the combine. That's correct, right? And so
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I think it's interesting that for the other two, for Sean Mahone and Alonzo Adai, that through film and probably a couple of pro days, they got to show off a little bit and ended up getting a chance at least to go to camp next year.
Yeah, and here's hoping they stick. I mean, that's so competitive and it's so hard for guys to break through. I think it's just getting that shot is pretty cool. So good luck to them. Hopefully they catch on.
Yeah, so that kind of wraps up what I wanted to talk about with football, guys. I mean, there's not a lot that happens between now and probably the end of July. You'll see some things. JT Daniels will get to campus soon, and you'll see things start to, rev back up before the season starts. I think, and don't quote me on this, that it's the last week of July that camp starts. So we'll see what happens as WVU kicks into gear. But let's shift to basketball, where some interesting things, guys, has happened over the last couple weeks. And I'll start with something that's a little lower on our list, but is kind of big to me. Emmett's back. Emmett Matthews returns to WVU.
Yes,
who saw that coming?
Yeah, guess who's back?
Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Yeah, Emmett is back. The Dusky is back.
Yes.
Kind of caught me off guard. I'll be honest, I think he's going to have a pretty good season. I think he more than fills the void left from Jalen Bridges. I was a little bit more high on Emmett Matthews more so than Jalen from the get-go.
But you agree that it feels like an interchangeable piece, doesn't it? It feels like
they're going to play the same spot.
Goes
that's
right
for
into
sure.
the three.
Yeah, he'll be a wing player for us. Can shoot shot really well. I think shot career highs from 3-point line and maybe from field goal, I think, this past year. I think he averaged, just under 12 points a game for Washington.
Yeah, he probably should have been an honorable mention Pac-12. He wasn't. I think he was a little salty about that. But I think he had a really solid year, which, I don't think anyone was surprised at. Washington didn't have a terrific team, but he was one of their better performers. So to see him now come back is a little bit surprising to me, Scoot, just because I thought he went home because he's a Tacoma guy, and I thought like that was his, like, I'm going to finish it out there. So this is interesting.
Well, what this does is cements his, like, he's now like a Mountaineer for life. Like, no one, like, when Baylor comes, people are going to go bananas on Jalen Bridges.
Right.
And Jalen he's going to have a tough time coming back to West Virginia.
Well, something that made me laugh, Scoot, I think it was the Smoking Musket account tweeted, if Emmett dunks on Jalen, they'll have to build a new arena. And that made me laugh.
That is so true, though.
This
is
like,
so true.
Emmett Matthews now will go down as one of the great Mountaineers because he left and came back. Like, he's going to be more famous as a Mountaineer because he came back. Because
people will be like, oh, he loves us.
In my 20 plus years here, people are always West Virginians, and I'm going to stereotype. West Virginians are usually like, that's why we can't have nice things, because when we have nice things, they go away. If somebody breaks them, something bad happens to them.
Right.
We're just cursed. Everything that happens that's
We're
good
always waiting
eventually
for the bad
goes
stuff.
away.
Yes,
right.
Right.
Well, something that's good went away and came back. It came back. He is going to be loved. Like, he was already kind of liked, and people, I think, admittedly, kind of gave him a pass, like you did just a second ago. Al, he's from Washington. It made sense. He went home. It's not like he went looking for big time. He didn't go to a blue blood just to go.
See, I told myself as a former West Virginian, it couldn't be West Virginia. It was some other logical reason. It wasn't us. See, that's what I told myself, Guido. I was like,
that he didn't dislike us.
Yeah, right.
Well, and he said, though, I mean, he joined Brad Howe and Greg Hunter on Metro News, and he goes, when I left, I didn't burn any bridges. I didn't, it was amicable. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. There was no hard feelings. I still talked to Hugs. So I think a lot of that is what, rolls into this. My question for you guys is Emmett Matthews a starter on this team next year?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think he comes back if he's not.
He's got 1 year.
Opinion.
He's not coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Now, Kedrian Johnson, I don't know. Like, I know he started this past year. He may start the season as a starter, but I don't feel the same way at all about him.
I guess that's my question now is who, we talked about this last time we did the show. We talked about, okay, here's what we thought. Who loses a starting position because Emmett Matthews comes back?
I'm going to say one of the loyalty guys, one of the returning type guys, because I don't know that if I had to guess a starting lineup or what I think should be the starting lineup, this is what I would go with. I'd go Toussaint. I'd go Stevenson. I'd go Emmett Matthews.
Emmett at the 3.
And then
Big Tonka.
Yeah, Big Tonka is
right?
in. Tonka's in.
And the Big
and
Wagyu.
Then either the Big Wagyu or that Pat Sumnick guy.
Right.
One of those two guys. I think those guys may be interchangeable.
Do you think that Tonka and Wagyu we're gonna do this all season, by the way. Tonka and Wagyu.
No, listen. Listen. Before we're having fun with the Big Wagyu, but I think you say his name Wag.
Waggy. No,
yeah,
Waggy.
Oh, is it Waggy?
Yeah.
I was trying to remember.
Yeah.
I listened to his old coach say it
it's
a week or two ago. Okay, so we're having fun with the Big Wagyu, but I think it's Waggy.
The Big Waggy. Are those two though? Are Jimmy Bell Jr. and Waggy? Are they interchangeable? Are they both playing the 5 spot?
I don't see them that way. No, see, I would Scoot. I think you and I are kindred spirits on this. I'd love to see Waggy at the 4 and Big Tonka holding down the 5. I think you've got Emmett at the swing, and then Toussaint and Stevenson, like you said, at the 1-2. So to me, to answer your question, I think I agree with you. I think Kedrian is coming off the bench in that instance.
And that's what I thought too when I saw it.
And if we're
I thought the same thing.
talking about this mysterious hashtag Press Virginia being back in their bio or whatever, if we had to go that route, maybe Wagoo, the big Wagoo, is like the Jonathan Holton on the top of the press, and then you throw Tunkel all the way back. Like kind of like I don't know,
He's
like the
sitting back.
Turk or somebody back
Like
there.
the Turk used to sit back.
Yeah, and then you're going to town with the rest of the guys.
Right. You get speed. You get speed up front. Right. I
mean,
mean,
I think one of the Josiahs is good. Maybe the Canadian one. I'm not sure which one is good.
The Canadian Josiah.
Canadian Josiah.
I think there's a Canadian and an Ohioan. I got to believe the Canadian's better.
I mean,
I feel like we got to get Josh Wood on the show just to help us like sort out what we're calling.
well,
all these
I'm
people.
excited about the big Wagyu lately. I got to stop that because I'm going to get in the habit of that. But you know who I'm talking about. Eric Martin had tweeted out yesterday, I think, or the day before, he was selected to play in the World University Games, and I think that's really cool. So I get a little bit more excited about that guy. I've seen him play. He's big and fast, and I think it's exciting to think
had
if
some
you
success
pair
with guys from Mali.
you pair him with a guy like Big Tunka. I think that's cool.
I don't want, and this is me, and Scoot's gonna like roll his eyes when I say this. Like, I'm starting to get excited about this team. I know it's only May, and there's a lot of time.
Listen, I'm excited about this team, as long as the starting lineup resembles somewhat of what we just talked about. If it looks like we got to make guys, prove their mettle, so
Right.
we're gonna start Seth Wilson and Keedy
Okonkwo.
Johnson and Okonkwo. And
Well, I mean, nothing against
Jamel
those
King.
guys, but I'm going to
No.
be disappointed if we run an 11-man rotation out there again like we usually do.
Can we
that's
just play
Well,
guys?
and I think it's hard. And I think
win.
it's hard because those first like 6-7 games that we play in November and early December or whatever, like those games, you're going to see 11-man rotations. Like you're going to see Huggins trying all of that crazy stuff that he tries. But it's more about like by the time we hit to mid-December, what's starting to gel, and as we head into the conference play.
I'm good with 11 or 12 if we're running Press Virginia. If we're not running Press Virginia, there's no point in throwing out 12 or 13 guys because nobody can get into a rhythm. You've got like one or two guys that play the majority of the minutes, and then you've got a cast of characters that is different every time down the court.
Well, I just hope we get aggressive Emmett. I want aggressive Emmett back.
He looked like, if you looked at some of his highlight reel there from Washington and even some of that tweet that he put out, like that looked fairly aggressive. That was mostly dunks.
But you know what I'm talking about when I say that, right? I want freshman year Big 12 tournament assertive Emmett. Yeah.
Yes, you don't want sleepy Esau.
I want Georgetown. Wasn't it Georgetown early 2 seasons ago? We were like, whoa, Emmett's back. And then, he has flashes. I'd love to see more of that.
So think about this, guys. This will make you crazy. Emmett Matthews comes back to the team. How many players are on the current WVU team now that were with Emmett when he was on the team 2 years ago? How many guys?
I don't know, Guido, but I think it's just Keedy, right?
Yeah.
It's just
wow.
Keedy.
That's crazy, though, isn't it?
One player.
Wow.
One player.
That's
and he
crazy.
didn't hardly play then.
And Keedy was a bench guy then. I mean, like he saw junk time.
That's when
I
Keedy
don't-
first came in and airballed a shot. He took a shot
I think he bounced
stage
it
left.
off the.
His shot went stage left.
Yeah. That season, that last season that Emmett played, 2020, 2021 season, Keedy had 7 minutes.
That was the moment I said to myself, "This guy played organized basketball, right?" what
Come
happened
on,
here?
man!
Like,
It's rough start. I mean, it's big stage.
I just
Come
think
on.
it's so interesting that he's coming back and he's not gonna. He's gonna walk into that gym and he's not gonna know any of those faces.
It's amazing. The turnover that sums up the turnover, Guido. That is amazing.
Right?
That's an amazing stat.
that's not the dog on the guy, but listen, the three of us could check ourselves into a basketball game at any level and not necessarily put up a shot that goes wide of the backboard like we saw on his first shot.
Well, but I
That's
think
true.
that also introduced
I
us
could hit the backboard.
to Keaty's to me, like, I don't disagree, but I don't expect Keaty to score 15 points a game, right? I mean, I think Huggs puts him out there to harry the ball carrier, and he spends the whole game doing that. So I think that's what's interesting about this new lineup. Does he look at that position and say, I just want you to handle the ball and play defense, or am I going to hand it to Joe Toussaint and Eric Stevenson and say, you guys go get it from the 1-2? That'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
I agree. But bottom line, Gail Catlett missed out on the Milton Marksman.
Well, he did. I mean, we can't go back now and fix that,
Catlett,
right?
Was asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
When Milton had the hottest outside shooter in West Virginia in Appalachia.
I mean,
at his fingertips, and he just looked the other way.
I mean, they're there for 3 summer camps, but come on, I'm not salty about it. I mean, who's counting?
Would you average, Johnson, would you average your senior year?
Well, I didn't play my senior year, so I'd average 0.
Yeah, he was so depressed. Callie, how many times?
That's how slept on I was.
Yeah.
That's how slept on you were.
How many times does he have to show up at Catlett's front door only to not have anyone answer the door?
I mean, I can only knock so many times. You know what I mean? And then it's like, what do you want me to do?
That's right.
God. All right, so some other basketball things we should talk about, interesting things. I think we already alluded to it. Jalen Bridges selects Baylor as his choice. I don't even know.
And decides Guido, I'm going to beat Scoot to the punch here, decides in his Twitter announcement to hold the national championship trophy.
Right?
Which was so weird to me because we lost to those guys. Weird.
I also found it cute for the family to wear the championship T-shirts as well of the championship that they didn't win.
That's weird, right? Yeah. That's a weird
right?
thing.
Yeah, I think it's weird too.
But it'd be like you guys walking in to the coach of the rifle team and getting your photos with all of the rifle trophies.
Right.
Like,
and I think the funny part of this is WVU basketball decides to, coincidentally, we'll say, send out a loyalty tweet. So one of you guys mentioned the loyalty guys. That's an homage to the tweet that came out with the guys, the returners from last season's team. They're in a graphic that says loyalty across the top. I found it funny that, I mean, probably rightly so, but Jalen immediately assumes that's about him and retweets it with a little gas can and says fuel to the fire. So this is going to be healthy, Scoot. This is going to be completely healthy going into next season.
Here's the question everyone wants to know. Is he still seeing the pepperoni roll money?
Right,
what's he gonna now? He's gonna hawk some briskets or something. What's he gonna do now?
What do they do in Waco? He's gonna advertise shiplap or something.
I mean, he's gonna Magnolia Farms. Is he gonna be the Magnolia Channel? Can he get a spot on the Magnolia Channel?
I mean, it'll be interesting to see what Scott Drew does with him down there. I mean, I think that
I think he'll start.
Well, look, I will say this, Guido.
Do you think he'll start?
I think he will.
Well, I think he sent out a tweet that, and I think someone interviewed him and he said there was a quote in there that he thought in a better system, he would have a better chance of scoring and everything. And so people on Mountaineer Twitter, there was like this tsunami, Scoot, of, oh yeah, you're suddenly not going to suck, which, we're so salty about it right now, right? The guy doesn't suck. First of all, the guy doesn't suck. Secondly, I just think he's probably speaking the truth, right? We don't run an offense. So I just thought, I took him at face value to mean like Scott Drew probably runs an offense. He'll probably get more shots. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if he has like a better scoring average and stuff. I mean, come on, that's not out of the ordinary to think.
Listen, I'm going to say it like the people think. Okay. We can try to gloss this over. The young fella got the ball in his hands lots of times throughout the season and gave the ball back to somebody else because he either was scared to shoot, didn't want to shoot. He might have been told not to shoot, but I doubt that because we had zero offense at times. Like, what kind of, you don't need a system when the ball's in your hands. Go score. Shoot the ball. And I guarantee you, if Bob Huggins were here, he'd say he didn't shoot the ball enough.
Right. And I here's the thing that I kind of pulled from the whole, like all of it, from like where Jalen was at the beginning of the season, in the middle of the
Scoot,
season.
look at the pain
and
on Guido's face. Look at the pain.
No, I know it's
Scoot,
painful. It is painful.
Look at the pain on
but
Guido's face.
I know, it's a polar bear down. That's what it's like.
Here's the thing about it is I think that we reached a point with Jalen as fans where we were like, you had your chance and you didn't take your chance.
Yeah.
And Huggins reached a point with it of, I've told you what to do and you're not doing what I tell you to do. I hope for Jalen and his family that going to Baylor is the right decision and he clicks and he molds with, Scott Drew and that whole staff there. And don't get me wrong, like that's a winning program. That's a great program. I don't know if the player can change, I guess is where I'm going with it. Like, doesn't matter where you're at if your attitude isn't, in line with what is going to work for the team. And I think that's kind of where it got with WVU.
I'm just wondering what, given from now until when Baylor arrives at the Coliseum, that's a lot of time for our fans and for the Mountaineer maniacs and everyone to think up of creative stuff for that game. So it's going to be
salty.
It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be salty. Yeah. And other in the transfer news, guys, Sean McNeil, hot boy, heads to Ohio State.
Lands in Columbus. A lot of red in that picture he sent out. A lot of red.
A lot of red in that picture. So congratulations to him. I don't know, shooting threes for the Buckeyes. Good luck. Right. And then I think probably also a little more interesting, Isaiah Cottrell is at UNLV.
Scoot, he's now with your favorite guy.
Well, I'll be honest. I thought that's where Emmett Matthews might end up. One of those two places, Ohio State or UNLV, because I know
roommates, right? They're tight.
they were roommates and they were tight.
Yeah.
Just kind of surprising. For me seeing Cottrell go there, I don't think that's as strange because he's from Las Vegas.
Yeah, he's from Las Vegas, right?
Maybe he'll come back. Maybe that's what they're all doing. They're going 1 year at their old place and they're coming back.
That's the plan now. It'll just be interesting. Scooty, I do want to ask. Is Jordan McCabe still an NBA player? I want to get your opinion
that's a
on
throwback comment. We could probably dig up that episode, Guido.
I could dig that up. Episode up.
Yes.
He's going to stick with it. He's sticking to his guns. 2 years ago, he was like, Jordan McCabe he's our one and he's an NBA player. Sonny Njai ends up going to South Carolina upstate.
Yeah, and Guido, what about in his tweet, Sonny says, one bad chapter does not mean your story is over. And I thought, okay, I mean, we didn't even open your book, but if you thought there was a chapter there,
there's a chapter there?
What's this chapter? Where's this chapter going? Is this like a choose your own adventure where you have to leaf through some pages?
And it just took him to South Carolina upstate.
Right.
Well,
South Carolina, that powerhouse. Here's the question, though, because of what he said, because of the how things went down with Jalen. Here's my only concern. I know we talked about it before. Is there a problem in the program still? We haven't seen coaching changes. Everybody that was on the staff last year, Scoot, is still on the staff this year.
Yeah, the only thing we saw, Scoot, was Andy Kettler, the strength and conditioning coach, right? He went to Xavier. You pointed that out.
I did, but he hasn't been the strength and conditioning coach for a couple seasons.
I mean, not that I'm trying to read a lot into that, but that's the only change I can. We had heard, right, Scoot? We had heard that, hey, there might be some coaching. Like there, the hubbub was maybe some coaching changes.
Andy Kettler left like 3 years ago. We had a guy that was like Minnesota's strength and conditioning coach that Richard Pitino recommended the last 2 or 3 years.
Obviously you take that recommendation. I mean, come on.
Right. So that's not a recent, I guess that's a somewhat recent change. That's probably the most recent change that we've had. I don't know that we're any better.
I guess. Well, but here's the thing I'm saying, guys, is that we heard, there were rumors, there were things about how the coaching staff was not jiving well with the players. Larry, Ron, and Eric are still there. They're still in the building. And those are the ones that I think are, everybody's focusing on. There no major changes to the coaching staff. Do we repeat? Is it a player thing? Is it a coach thing? Is it a combination of both? Are we doomed to repeat 2022 all over again next season?
I'll go first, Scoot. I think it wouldn't surprise me, right? I mean, I'm excited because I get excited every year. Even though I tell myself don't get excited, I always get excited. So that's the only reason I'm excited, first of all. I think we're potentially, to answer your question, just plugging, Guido, you were the first one to get on the topic of, hey, you're just plugging randoms in here. They haven't even had time. Usually Hugs likes to preheat the oven and then year two, get guys in there. It feels like we're just running right back in here with a new cast of characters, plugins. So it wouldn't surprise me if we repeat a lot of what we did last year. I was being a smart aleck there in the JB comments, but Scoot, we never run offense, right? So I have no expectations we will see an offense being run this year. That's why I like this big Tonka guy, because when I watch highlights, he's like bull in a china shop, right? And that's what we need, because I don't think you're gonna finesse anyone. You're just gonna manhandle them. That's why I like this Toussaint guy. He seems like a tough dude. So that's why I have some hope for this coming team. But I think, to answer Guido's question, I don't suddenly feel like you're going to snap your fingers and see some new approach to the offense next year.
We need to have, I think Tonka brings us easy baskets. We didn't have easy baskets last year because we didn't have anybody inside for easy baskets.
But can I add something to you?
Yeah.
So consider this, because I think you will agree with me. 2 seasons ago, people were like, we're great. We have Deuce and we have DC. And my only argument to that was, yes, we were great, but DC was like this big ball of energy that was not going to outwork anyone. DC was this frenetic force under the basket. And when that didn't work, we threw it to Deuce and we were just like, hey, can you do something here for a second? Because we can't get a bucket. And he would just find one, right? So last year, you lose that frenetic force under the basket. And even though we had some guys that could create, they couldn't create like Deuce. I guess my point is none of that Deuce, Culver, even while Oscar was there, because Oscar would just outwork people too and use his talent to just over talent people. None of that was because of the framework they were working, in my opinion. None of that was because of the system they were working in. So now you've got these new guys coming in, and I think there's some glimpses of hope here, but I don't suddenly see us running a new system that they fit into,
No. I mean, Huggins is going to do what Huggins does. I don't think that changes. I think my hope, Johnson, and like you said, it's the West Virginia part of all of us. My hope is that Huggins is back to recruiting guys that fit his system. I think that the guys we had last year didn't fit his system, but I still worry about the fact that there was so much talk from all of those guys who transferred out about how cancerous, how bad it was to be in that building. We didn't see any changes in that building. Those same guys are still in that building. The coaching staff is still there, and so I don't want to say that it was all of the players' fault. Hey, Jalen comes in with a bad attitude or Isaiah has a bad attitude, so that's the problem. The problem might be, Larry Harrison or Eric Martin or Ron Everhart. The problem might be one of those guys, and I haven't seen changes there. And so I worry about, are we repeating the same thing again? We're just going to bring in new names and they're all going to get pissed, and then we're back to where we were.
For me, there's a slight difference and I don't know why it feels this way, but this is how it feels. So with last year's group, we had 3 guys from what I would consider mid-major programs, although DePaul, depending on what you consider the Big East in basketball, I guess it could be a major program. But anyway, we had 3 guys that were mid-major guys, and we didn't really have any new JUCO players. This year, we've got a couple of JUCO guys, and then we've got some guys from Power 5 conferences. And
that were highly regarded recruits.
Right. And for me, when you have those guys that are mid-major guys, they came with a little bit of they were kind of the man. Now, maybe more so Malik Curry than the other guys. They were the man at their school. I don't want to say they were overwhelmed by being in a Power 5 conference, but I think there was probably good reason as to why they weren't in a Power 5 conference, and I think they all showed that at various points throughout the season. Toussaint's as a ball player, he was kind of buried on the depth chart, but like you just said, by all accounts, was a highly regarded recruit out of New York City. Stevenson is a ball player. Played at Wichita State, went on to Washington, went on to South Carolina, still performed at a very high level. Kind of a team that ended up, the coach ended up getting fired, so they obviously didn't perform to what they should. But he's got something to prove, right? He's got something to prove, either that Coach Martin got fired wrongly or that, he wasn't the reason why Coach Martin got fired. Toussaint's got, hey, I'm a scorer. I didn't get a chance to score. He's got a little bit of an edge. Tunka, you got to look at the JUCO guys. And Emmett Matthews, I don't know that he's got necessarily an edge, but I think he's going to be well regarded regardless because he's coming back in and it feels good. But you look at Tunka. Right. Tunka got passed over. He was at St. Louis, then went to a JUCO.
Yeah.
And I think he's got a lot to prove. The big Wagyu, he's at a JUCO. Got a lot to prove. He's kind of an unknown quantity looking to kind of make a name for himself. Sumnik had a great finish to his JUCO season, looking to prove that, hey, I can play at the next level. So those guys are coming in kind of with an edge, a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, not necessarily. Hungry. Yeah, and those guys don't come in saying, well, I'm your leading scorer, give me the ball. They come in saying, oh, I got the ball, watch what I can do. They come in saying, right, I'll do whatever I need to do to get on the floor and help this team win because I want to play more and prove that I'm worthy of being here. When you've got a bunch of guys that are mid-major guys that have been okay and successful, I feel like they were kind of like, sweet, West Virginia wants me, Power 5 wants me, awesome. And I led the team in scoring last year, so surely they'll give me the ball. Like, it felt different.
I'll just go be me. Right.
It felt different. These guys feel hungry, and hopefully, my hope is that the loyalty guys, minus Kedrian, because I think Kedrian, being a former JUCO guy, understands a little bit better. But hopefully those young guys, the 4 freshmen from last year, come in and learn more from this group than they did from last group. That's the key. That's the concern I have, is that those guys picked up bad habits from the last group. Some of that whiny crap, I'm sure, that went on during practice. Some of the, and I don't know anything about what practice was like, but could I see Taz going off on somebody because he's not getting the ball or somebody's not screening for him or something? Yeah, I could see that. And there was probably a lot of dysfunction amongst that team throughout parts of that season. I just hope they didn't pick up a lot of that and come to the table with that this year. That would be something that would throw it off.
I mean, that's a good take, because I like the thought that guys coming in hungry. That's kind of what we need coming off last year.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I mean, guys, we're 6 months. I mean, it's crazy to think about it. 6 months away, pretty much to the date that we play Mount St. Mary's to open up our season, November 7th. Teams finally starting to come together. I like the fact that, it's not like we're figuring this all out over the summer. I feel like this team has gotten together, pretty early on here, and Huggins went in and got these guys. It'll be interesting. I mean, I want to see us be successful, and we don't have, unlike this past year, we don't have an easy preseason schedule like we did last year. I mean, we've got, the Mount St. Mary's and the Morehead States and the Penns, but we do play Pitt in there, and we do play in that Phil Knight legacy,
right,
with, what is it, Duke? I mean, there's a lot of big
heavy
names
hitters
in there,
that one for sure. Yeah.
So it's not like we're going to see some games, early on. Guys, one last thing I want to talk about. We'll wrap it up this segment. We still have one more to do, but want to wrap it up by saying, I think that the most amazing thing to ever happen to the NCAA happened this last week. And that is Mark Emmert climbed out from behind his desk, from hiding underneath of it, and decides that he's got 1 year left. He's stepping down and he will no longer run the NCAA next season. And I think there was rejoicing throughout as we finally get to have a new person come in and try to run this organization that has gone into the toilet the last 4 years.
Well, and it's like now,
right,
now you're going to, now that you didn't have a plan for NIL, Now that you
Nope.
let it just be jettisoned out into the expanse for everyone to use with absolutely no governance or guidelines, and now the Wild West is occurring. Now you're like, yeah, I think my work here is done. Yeah, I think I'm good. I'm gonna go ahead and step down. Like, okay, that's one way to do it, I guess.
I think that, you look back, and I know he's been president of the NCAA now for what?
I think 12 years.
Since 2010. And I mean, could you name another president of the NCAA off the top of your head?
That's a good point. That's kind of like, it's sort of like when you know an official because, a ref because of poor performance. I feel like I only know who Mark Emmert is because of just weird things that have happened over the last 12 years.
But you think about in the span of Mark Emmert being the president of the NCAA, there has been so much that has happened and has really not only put the NCAA as an organization on the stage bigger than it's ever been before, like when you go through the Sandusky and Joe Paterno thing all the way through now to the name and likeness and everything that he's had to deal with. Now we're at this point where, who takes on this role and what power does an NCAA president have now? I mean, you've heard of the whole idea of the SEC schools wanting to leave the NCAA, Scooty, all these, other things where the NCAA has no power. Like, what does the next president have to try to do to remedy all these issues, Mark Emmert?
Yeah, and to keep it relevant. I mean,
right.
I think we're still in a wait and see. Like, if it obviously is a stooge from within the office that's there now, are you going to see a big change? I don't know. Is it some of these names that we've seen thrown around that have former West Virginia ties? I don't know. It could be interesting, but nothing's going to change anytime soon, right? So it's going to be a process. I think you're 2-3 years from seeing any kind of changes at all.
Yeah, and I think Mark Emmert aside, it just makes me wonder, can someone step in? I guess I'll repeat myself here, Guido, but can someone step in and make it feel relevant again? Right now, I almost feel like it's completely irrelevant. I mean, right now, not just the NIL, but we've well documented the transfers, and just this weekend, people at Pitt were up in arms because their Biletnikoff award-winning wide receiver is reportedly heading to USC, and they've, of course, Pat Narduzzi was reported to have reached out to USC directly because he felt like there was some untoward things going on.
Hanky-panky?
I mean, it's like
some crazy hanky.
It just feels like the NCAA is nowhere to be seen with all that stuff. So can someone step in and make it feel relevant again? I don't know.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before with Kansas and everything.
Yeah,
like UNC. Like,
I think from now on, any tampering talk, I'm going to call it hanky-panky.
Yeah, UNC. Kansas had a lot of hanky-panky. UNC.
Both hanky and panky at Kansas.
Yes. What's interesting about this is the day that he comes out and announces that he's going to be leaving in 2023. The names that come out, two of them really linked to WVU. Jim Clements, former president of WVU, was on that list. Now president of Clemson University, and I think even bigger for us is Oliver Luck. Kind of came out at the top of that
Don't
list.
You feel like Oliver Luck, Scoot? Like anytime the NCAA needs a list of potential whatevers, they're like, I don't know, but make sure you get Oliver Luck on there.
We need a guy that's got some sports background. Oliver Luck can do
Oliver
that.
Luck could probably do that.
I heard he's also going to be the chairman of the Steel Motors, the Cheel.
The what?
I
now?
also heard he's going to be the chairman
of
the Steel Wood.
Oh,
what
Steel Wood.
Outdoor.
I'm familiar with Steel Wood.
Where
are we going here, Scoot?
Right there,
what are we doing? Somebody bump him.
What are the steel?
Do we need to call 911?
Are you having a thing right now?
Stroke?
Are you having a? What are you? Can someone bump him?
Yeah, I mean, do we need to hit the reset button on Scoot? Have you tried turning him off and back on again?
And back on again.
I heard he's also going to be the chairman of the Steel Timber Sports Lumberjack Championship.
Like steel chainsaws. Yes.
Like the chainsaw manufacturer. Yes. Maybe.
I can't confirm
so
that.
It'll be interesting. I mean, I think it'll be a year of talking about it. It'll probably be, over, during football season. I would imagine during bowl season is when they'll announce who the successor will be. That's probably the time that, you see the most focus on the NCAA. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Well, guys, that's what's going on with WVU Sports. We're going to take a break and come back with the #1 game show on a West Virginia University sports podcast, a little game we like to call Bluff the Fluffs. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Got Your Eers On.
Vortec Knives is a West Virginia owned and operated company specializing in high-quality steel, fast-opening, everyday carrying knives. If you go to vortechknives.com today and use the code GYEO, you get a 25% discount on your entire order. That's Vortech, VORTEK knives.com, a West Virginia owned and operated company specializing in fast-opening, high-quality, everyday carry knives. Vortec Knives.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Got Your Ears On. Guido here along with Scoot and Johnson. And listen, don't forget you can find us online. Look for us on social medias. We're on Instagram and Twitter at Got Your Ears. You can also find us on Facebook. And check out our website, gotyourearson.com. Johnson, it is the hub of everything about us.
It is the hub. We put all of our latest show notes in blog form for this episode, like we always do. You can click through to the merch store and check out the GYEO merch, and you can listen through the tune-in link right on the side of the page to the latest show. So check it out.
Yeah, check it out, gotyourearson.com. Well, guys, we have the #1 game show on a podcast about WVU sports.
Yes.
It is a little game we like to call Bluff the Fluffs. And guys, we haven't played it a lot. It's still early in the year. We usually don't crank it up. We don't crank it up until usually at the end of the summer when football starts, we crank it up a little bit. But we like to throw a couple in here and there. And we have an intern who does a spectacular job writing Bluff the Fluffs.
He does a great job, yeah.
He's very active.
I mean, he is very
Leads
active.
an active lifestyle, writes active.
Very active lifestyle.
BTFs, yes.
I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, he actually came in from doing one of his active lifestyle activities to write this Bluff the Fluff.
I mean, I assume.
Yes. So, anyways, Cloney, you can find him at the Brian. What is it? What is his Twitter handle?
Well, we need
by
to
the
do
way?
better than that by
I think it's at the Brian Cloney.
Yeah. He's at the Brian Cloney. You can find him online. We'll put him out there. I mean, he has funny things to say. And oddly enough, Scooty, we've never talked about this. Our intern and famous Major League Baseball player Jose Canseco have a years-long battle with each other on Twitter.
Yes,
Right?
Yes.
Twitter beef.
Twitter beef, as it were.
A Twitter.
In Jose Canseco's list of Twitter beefs, it goes Alex Rodriguez 1,
Yes.
the Brian Cloney 2.
Right.
Yes.
And maybe
And
like Sasquatch 3.
Former manager Morgan 3.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of baseball, I mean, we should do a podcast about baseball. Did you see Ron Washington, who, by the way, Ron Washington, Major League Baseball veteran,
Third base coach, yeah.
manager of team, third base coach now of the Texas Rangers.
Atlanta Braves.
Oh, he's with the Braves now. He had one of the most epic tweets ever, where he tweeted a picture of himself as a child,
baby photo.
a baby photo with his same receding hairline that he has now. It was classic. It was
Right.
great stuff.
Good stuff.
Anyways, we do a game show. I'm sorry, back to our game
Yes.
show. Cloney writes our game show for us,
Right.
and we perform it. Right now, Johnson and Scooty compete against each other, and Johnson, you have the lead this season, 2-1 over
That's
Scooty.
disputed.
I know there is some question about that. We'll have to go back and double check that. But I'm
I believe
pretty
it's
sure
3-0.
correct.
But
I know it's not
We
3-0.
know it's
I'm
not
100%.
that, yes.
100% not 3-0. Scooty.
And it's a
You've never won. I don't know if you've ever won 3 in a row.
yeah.
Scooty.
You're essentially the
I'm
Neil
like
Brown
the Neil
of
Brown of this
BTF.
thing.
Yeah, you're like the Neil Brown of Bluff the Fluffs.
Okay.
Like, come on,
All
get
right.
your crap together.
Well, anyways, Cloney put us a great one this week together. It is Bluff the Fluffs NFL Draft Edition. This
Ooh.
past weekend was NFL Draft, and so this is all Bluff the Fluff questions about the NFL draft. As always, guys, a correct answer is worth 5 points, a steal is worth 10 points, and final bluff is worth 25 points. During the commercial break, we had a complete and total random flip of the coin, and Johnson, you came out first. You get to go first this time.
All right, it always makes me nervous because it sets me up for a steal, but let's do this.
All right, here we go. First question, Johnson, is to you. In 1936, University of Chicago running back Jay Berwanger was the first player chosen in the first ever NFL draft. However, he never played in the NFL, and he instead became A, a dentist, B, a foam rubber salesman, C, the inventor of almond milk, or D, a high school gym teacher.
Berwanger.
Yeah, Berwanger.
This feels like Scoot. This feels like a Dr. Berwanger. I'm gonna go dentist.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Berwanger, first NFL draft pick ever, Scooty. What did he become? A foam rubber salesman, an inventor of almond milk, or a high school gym teacher?
Well, unbeknownst to Johnson, the foam rubber industry was a budding industry in the 1930s, really taking off, more lucrative than the NFL. So he was a foam rubber salesman.
That's correct. Berwanger, the first ever NFL draft pick. He was also the first ever Heisman winner and the only Heisman winner ever to be tackled by future President Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford played for Michigan in the 1930s as well. Was a foam rubber salesman. That's impressive, Scooty.
I think he also came up with the concept of flubber.
I didn't know that you were so up on the early American
I know my
foam
silicons.
rubber industry.
Yeah.
Scoot's like, he is a silicone,
aficionado.
Aficionado, if you will. Right. All right. Well, congratulations, Scoot. You got that one correct, and you have a lead 10-0 over Johnson. And this next one is back to you. This school leads the way with 522 players selected over the years in the NFL draft. Which college is it? The Ohio State University, Oklahoma, USC, or Notre Dame?
That's a tough one. I'm gonna say Notre Dame.
That's correct for 5 points. Notre Dame has the most players ever selected in the NFL draft at 522. All right, Scooty has the lead.
Isn't that weird that I was expecting Nebraska to be on that list? Wouldn't you? Somebody like that, but that's odd to me.
I think Nebraska, yes, had they continued at the pace from
for
the
their
1990s,
length of dominance, and even, I mean, didn't they have some crazy 40-year span where they were in the top 5 or something, or I don't know. Anyway,
yeah, I'd love to see those numbers for Notre Dame broken
I can't
down.
even tell you the last Nebraska player drafted.
right? Right.
That's true. That's true. All right, here you go, Johnson. You're down 15-0. Scooty has a commanding lead right now, but this next question is back to you. Which of the following quarterbacks was not selected before the New England Patriots selected Tom Brady with the 199th pick overall in the 2000 NFL Draft? All right, which of these quarterbacks was selected after Tom Brady? Giovanni Carmazzi from Hofstra, T. Martin from Tennessee, Jurius Jackson from Notre Dame, or Mark Bulger from WVU?
I think let's see. I think Carmazzi and Martin and Bulger all went before. So I'm going to go with was it Jaravicious, you said? Yep, I'm going to go with him.
That's correct. Jackson out of Notre Dame was selected after Tom Brady, and Johnson gets 5 points right there. Back on the board. Good job. All right, Scooty, this next question is to you. You still have a lead, 15-5 over Johnson. The 2022 NFL Draft saw 0 players selected from WVU, and I just want to take a little break here and say that we do have to give Cloney a little bit of a demerit, if you will, because he wrote University of
Oh,
West
come
Virginia.
on. Clone Cardinal Sin. What are you doing?
You
can't do that.
You can't do
That's
that.
a,
You say that out loud in Morgantown. We're going to have to
Listen,
protect you next meetup.
you're
What
not
are-
getting
what
an
are you
A+
doing?
for the semester.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
I mean,
there,
I think
Cloney.
Clone's a
So,
budding WVU fan. Come on, we can learn him up.
We've got him watching
Yeah,
all the
come on.
games. He has no ties to the state
I
whatsoever.
say it's an honest mistake, but he'll know better next time.
We'll give him this
Yeah,
one pass, but it is not University of West Virginia. Please don't write
Right.
that again. In the 2022 draft, the NFL saw 0 players selected from West Virginia University. When was the last time no WVU players were selected in the NFL draft? When was the last time? Was it 1995, 1999, 2001, or 2007?
That's tough. I'm going to say my heart's telling me
Your heart is telling me no.
one thing. My head's I'm going to say 2001. 2001.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Johnson for 10 points.
I think I know the answer.
And the steal. Was it 95, 99, or 07?
So after the 94 season, we opened the 94 season. I might be getting my seasons crisscrossed here, but we had a great run to the Sugar Bowl. Then we opened the following season against Nebraska with essentially like some people we found wandering the mountain layer, a guy that sold hot dogs, and people who parked cars in the blue lot, I think. So I don't think anyone was drafted in the 95 season.
Sorry, that's incorrect as well.
2007.
2007 was the last time WVU did not have anybody drafted in the NFL draft.
That just feels wrong.
I went with, wasn't 2001 the year Rich Rod got hired? I thought maybe there was.
Yeah, you were going.
I was going there. Part of the changeover might have been a byproduct.
Yeah. But hey, we talk about it though all the time, guys. Like WVU puts guys in the draft. I mean, you got to come to WVU, get in the draft.
Not anymore.
Not this year.
Not anymore.
All right, so nobody gets any points right there. Johnson, this next question
Milk's
is
gone bad.
The milk's gone bad. Next question is back to you, Johnson.
Scoot wishes he had 4 hands. You give those drafts
I'd
4
give-
thumbs down.
All right, Johnson. Of the 198 players ever selected into the draft representing WVU, how many have been inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame? So of the drafted players, how many have made it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Is it 1, 2, 3, or 4?
Gosh, this is so tough. I'm going to say 2.
That's correct. So we know 1. 1's easy to get. Sam Huff. That's an easy one. Do you know the other one?
No, honestly, I was thinking. I don't think Chuck Howley's in the hall.
You're not going to get this because I didn't get this.
Okay, I was racking my brain. I guess not.
And there's 0% chance Scoot would get this.
Greasy Neal.
No, not Greasy Neal. He played for West Virginia in the he was drafted into the NFL in 1936, played for West Virginia from 1931 to 1935.
He chose not to go into the lucrative rubber foam sales career.
Joe Stidehar?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I
Joe
know the
Stidehar.
name, but I would have
Yeah.
never thought of that. Yeah.
Right. So
Loser.
went on to have a
Joe Steigerhardt's a loser. Should have gone foam rubber.
wow. I mean,
Should have gone foam rubber.
went on to have a coaching career with the Rams, the Packers, the Cardinals, and the Bears, the Chicago Cardinals. By the
he
way,
had to keep working.
He had to keep working.
And to just keep up with the other guy.
But he was head coach for the Los Angeles Rams for a couple of years in the late 40s and early 50s. So there you go. So congratulations, Johnson, though. You did get 5 points there to bring you up to 10 points. Scoot still has the lead 15-5. Scooty, this is the last question before Final Bluff. So maybe give yourself a little bit of a cushion here. Let's see if you can get this one right.
Cushion.
In the 1983 NFL draft, it is regarded as one of the greatest drafts of all time. How many total touchdowns were thrown by the 6 quarterbacks that were taken in the first round? That's John Elway, Todd Blackledge, Jim Kelly, Tony Eason, Ken O'Brien, and Dan Marino. How many total touchdowns were thrown by those guys? Was it 756, 912, 1,173, or 1,369?
1,173.
That's correct. Like right off the bat, Scoot. Didn't even think about it. It's like you knew it.
I did some quick math.
You did
quick
some quick math there. That's impressive.
Scoot, noted quick mather.
I mean, I felt like Scoot went like brilliant mind right there. Like there were like numbers up on the screen, and he was like,
I was like old school. I was like Will Ferrell in old school. I kind of like
I saw square roots and stuff.
Yeah. All right. So Scooty gets 5 points right there and continues to hold the lead 20-10 over Johnson. But we are at Final Bluff, where it is worth 25 points for a correct answer. Johnson, you can take the lead. Every time we do Final Bluff, we ask you guys to come with your own buzzers. Johnson, what do you have for a buzzer this week?
Dooski.
Okay. All right. And Scoot, what do you got for a buzzer?
hair growing.
You gonna stop there? I was gonna let you go longer if you wanted. All right, those are our buzzers this week. As always, 25 points. This is almost a winner. This is a winner take all situation right here. Which current NFL franchise is the only team to have never selected a West Virginia Mountaineer in the NFL draft? There's only one team that's never selected a WVU player in the draft. Which team is it? Is it the New York Football Giants, the Baltimore Ravens, the Houston Texans, or the Minnesota Vikings?
Hair growing.
All right, Scooty. For 25 points and the win, who is it? Who's never selected a WVU player?
It feels like the Vikings.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect, Johnson. There's still a chance. Was it the New York Football Giants, the Baltimore Ravens, or the Houston Texans?
Ooh, I'm going to go with the Ravens.
That's correct for 25 points and the win. The Baltimore Ravens have never selected a WVU player in the NFL draft, and Johnson gets 25 points and becomes a winner.
Boom. That's weird, though, right? Baltimore?
His first win of the season.
Why wouldn't... That's weird that the Ravens wouldn't have selected.
It is kind of weird.
Me.
You think the Ravens would have? Yeah,
just seems weird.
You can't think of any though. I wonder what team has selected the most WVU.
Yeah, that would
players.
be a good question.
It feels like
or the
Cincinnati.
Eagles. I feel like the Eagles end up with a lot of WVU guys.
Like I can name 3 Cincinnati guys right off the bat: Pac-Man, Chris Henry, Mario Alford.
Yeah.
Well, Quentin
Those 3
Spain's
right
with
there.
him now. Was he drafted directly there? I can't remember.
Was he Mr. Undrafted? What was his name? Does he have a nickname?
Oh, he might have been, yeah.
By the way, Clooney obviously uses Wikipedia for all of his questions. Philadelphia Eagles and the Detroit Lions are tied, are first and second.
Detroit Lions.
The Detroit Lions are tied for Philadelphia's taken 16 Mountaineer players over the years, and the Lions have taken 15. The Ravens are the only current franchise to have not drafted a player from WVU. Interesting. Very interesting. Well, congratulations, Johnson. You now continue to hold the lead for Bluff the Fluffs. I know it's contested, and we'll have to go back and look, but according to my records, it's 3-1 over Scooty right now.
I like it. Let's go with that.
I think you've got the winner and I think you've got the standings reversed.
Oh, yeah, allegedly. We'll look into it, Scooty. We'll call. I mean, we have an intern.
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff we need to use him for.
Right.
Like,
and coffee.
Cloney, go back and listen to the old shows and tell us who has the lead.
Where is my coffee?
Yeah, I mean, and Scoot he's got the jitters. Give him a cup of coffee. All right, guys. Well, listen, we're going to wrap it up. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another show. Thanks for listening. Don't forget, you can find us online. Look for us on Instagram and Twitter at Got Your Ears. You can also find us on Facebook and check out our website, gotyourearson.com. We'll be back soon with another show. Thanks, everybody, for listening. You've been listening to Got Your Ears On.